True Hope Collister is growing, and that's a good thing. But our calling is to join God's kingdom-building movement, not to grow big in one location. Our mission is to be a multiplying community, transformed by the gospel, devoted to God's word, committed in community, and relentless in prayer, until our families, neighbors, city, and world know that Jesus is true hope. For the past year, the leadership board and staff have been praying and discerning how to accommodate the growth we have experienced. What does it mean to join God's kingdom-building movement?
A piece of this is the multiplying reality. Multiplying is an outcome. It's an outcome. When we live devoted and transformed and committed in community and relentless in prayer, we believe we will multiply on two levels. The first level is we will multiply disciples. Disciples making disciples.
This starts with me and with you, being willing to be a disciple who makes disciples. Then within our missional communities, as they grow, we want to then consider multiplying to make room for new people. Our end goal is to have a missional community in every neighborhood represented within our people. And then the end result will be multiplying community, congregation. We'll never get to the end goal if we don't start with you and me.
And that will lead us to our second reality, where we want to be a church that multiplies churches. We don't want to grow big in one location. We want to multiply pastors and leaders and disciples and churches all over the valley and maybe even the Northwest.
Because one, we want to make sure that when we get ready to launch out a new group of people, maybe 100 people that go out from our church to launch into a new area, that we have enough people to send out. At the same time, we have enough people still remaining that both churches thrive.
In so doing, we want to create autonomous churches that are interdependently connected through support and encouragement, allowing each location to fulfill its specific mission in their specific context.
You might say, well, why is that important? Why is it necessary to launch out new churches? And the reason is that new churches are most effective and are the best at reaching the unchurched. And they have a new passion, they have a new heart, they're in a new location, a new area. But man, can you think about all of the great ideas of all the churches working together, and then not just one church launching one church, but then multiple churches launching many churches?
Our mission is to multiply. We want to multiply believers, disciples, leaders, and congregations. We believe that God is calling us to be part of a church planting initiative. That means we can't grow big in one location, but we also need to get the right critical mass that ensures health for the sending and the sent church.
The biggest pinch point that we have right now is our ability to serve our families, our children. Right now, there's very little space. Talk to any of the volunteers. There's not a dedicated space for the youth.
To say that this has been a challenge is an understatement. It can get loud, and there's not a lot of room for the children to move around. We have had to get creative on some Sundays to be able to accommodate this many children.
As a board, we have thought through and prayed over a lot of different options around how the church could fulfill its mission and its vision. And those conversations have been really important, both from a financial perspective, but also from the perspective of helping us refine what the needs are for additional space.
We have run financial models with the current budget, with no growth, with the church growing as it has over the last 5 years.
We've discussed multiple options. We've tried to think about what our risks are, what our blind spots are, what are the things that we're not thinking about. Based on those discussions, we've refined the financial projections model, and then we've had the discussions again.
As a board, we were able to discuss this from many points of view with all kinds of options to adapt to the growing need that we have at this church. And we do think that this is the best recommendation at this time, is to go ahead and build out a bigger children's facility.
It excites me to know that each classroom will have their own space and there will be room to grow. Another thing that excites me is the gymnasium, which will provide a multi-purpose area that will allow the kids to get their wiggles out when needed and provide a place to meet for large group activities.
What we're asking is that we all take ownership in this. The leadership board has been praying and working over this for months, and we're at a point that we, as you've heard earlier, we're in unity, but we need to be unity with the whole church and continue to see where you can be part of the ownership of this continued ministry to grow the church and be Christ's disciples.
Will you join us in prayer and discernment?
So we want this endeavor to be led by God. We want to say yes to His plans and not for Him to bless our own plans. Our goal is to discern where God is at work and to join Him in that work exactly how He is asking us to. This will include some meeting time together as a church, but for now we're asking you to join us in prayer. Prayer for wisdom for their leadership board, the church staff, and the congregation as we engage what it means regarding a building to create enough space, especially for the children and teens, to grow to critical mass needed. Pray for provision from our Father for all He leads us into regarding building and multiplication. Pray for favor with the city, our neighbors, and the contractors as we potentially engage in construction. And lastly, pray over our first church plant in the valley. We're praying for the chance to multiply in the next 5 years. Pray for provision of our leaders, for those called to the church, and to where it's going to be located.